Everyone, and welcome to another Interstellar Modeler. This is now the final part of my Y-Wing build. Okay, so left off with the base, and I'm continuing on with it. This is my progress here so far. I've painted it with Vallejo's light gray, and I went back and forth on how to make the surface look worn and dirty, and what I finally settled on was just utilizing pastels with a sponge. So instead of applying it with a brush, I just blotted it onto the surface to kind of make everything look a bit dirty and grimy. My friend Mark suggested to put some yellow marks here where the equipment is going to be placed, and so I thought that was a good suggestion. And try to create some stains by adding a little bit of water, then applying some pastels to darken it up a bit. So you can see you've got some stains here, 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 and back over there. And for the lighting, I drilled 3 small holes. They're here, here, and there. I will be placing the light fixtures in those areas. Nice thing about working with those chip lights, again, they're very, very small, and the wires are thin as well, so you don't need large openings. The masking tape's in place here, so that's where we're going to be attaching the Y-Wing to the display base. And what's next now is to work with the switch. What I have in mind is to make a little box that will look like something that could fit into the background there, and that'll give us easy access to turning on and off those lights. Alright, so this is how the box is coming along, and by the way, the rods I was placing on the inside are just to help with reinforcement. So I'm still sanding away and finishing it, but essentially the idea is, of course, to mount the switch like this, and because it's going to protrude this way, I'm going to add some other detailing here just to make it blend in a bit better. Alright, so this is how it's looking. You can see with just some odds and ends that you can dress up and detail the surface pretty nicely. Alright, so the next step is to now paint it and install the switch. And here are the completed boxes. So I used Tester's Camouflage Gray as the color, along with Tamiya's weathering kit and some pastels to dirty it up. And I think it turned out pretty nice. So it's going to be a good way to hide our switch. It's going to blend into the background quite nicely. So the switch has now been mounted, and as in previous videos, I've used this plastic putty as a filler here because this is a push switch, so we have to apply pressure to it and not worrying about being displaced. So the plastic putty in this instance worked well to add some reinforcement there, and it dries hard. So you can see we're able to apply pressure without it being a concern. So what's next now is to go ahead and drill the holes to accommodate for our switch here now, and I'll go ahead and proceed with wiring in our spotlights. Alright, so to mount the switch, I've drilled 2 small holes and allowed for a little canal here that I could press the wire into, so that way it won't interfere with the base sitting flush against any surface. And to better secure our battery, I added just this little piece of plastic here that will act as our battery compartment. We can slide the battery in and out, and that way the battery is not just hanging loose. Alright, so we've got to now wire up the rest of the light fixtures. So I've basically passed the wires here underneath the board, and I'm not using hot glue on the actual LEDs, but I am using it to secure some of the wiring here. Alright, so everything has come together pretty well. We've got the light fixtures in place now. The diffusers are glued onto the light fixtures, providing some really nice illumination. Light switch is working perfectly. So what's left now is to glue the fighter into the position here. We've got the markings for the landing pads, and then I have to glue the equipment into place and the figurines as well. So we're just about done. I will show you the completed project here in just a second, so hang in there. Alright guys, well it's now time to show you the completed Y-wing and display base. And here we are. So again, this is a 1/72 scale kit made by Bandai. It measures 9 inches from front to back. I have to say I'm very pleased with the end results, and it is really a very, very good kit. I think you'd have a lot of fun putting it together. The model is very detailed. As far as I can tell, it's very screen accurate, but really it is an exceptional model kit. So my goal here was, of course, to create a scene in which the Y-wing is being repaired and worked on. And I was inspired by a number of different builds online. And so what we have along with this kit is a 1/72 scale U.S. Aerospace ground equipment set. And this is the kit here. And the figures worked out really well. As you know, I tried some new techniques on painting the figures, and I'm very pleased with those results as well. So what's also cool about this kit is not only is the model detailed, but so are the figures. I was very pleased to see how nicely detailed the X-Wing pilot as well as the R2 figure come really with some nice crisp lines and surface detailing that is exceptional. The kit allows you to build a cockpit in either a closed or open configuration. What's nice about keeping the cockpit open is you can see the detailing that they provide for the cockpit instrument panel as well. Now, one thing I think you will find challenging, and I've heard this from other builders, are the installation of all the piping and things that go along here. The rods are fairly thin, so you do have to be careful with installing them. If you go to part 1 or part 2, I believe, of the series, I mentioned this, and you know, it's not a complete disaster if you do break one. The one thing about these is they align pretty straight, so if you do happen to break them, it's not that hard to glue them back together, but it is something that can be a little bit time consuming and sometimes a little frustrating as you're trying to get them slipped into the slots that they provide. I'm sure you agree though, taking a closer look here, you can see that the detailing is exceptional, and you can enhance it even further by simply just adding a wash. One thing I noticed while looking for reference photos online is that some of the studio models seem to have some browns mixed into the light grays, and so the Tamiya weathering kit worked really well to help add in some of those tones. And I'd recommend, if you haven't tried them yet, to really work with some of the SMD options that you have when it comes to lighting. With projects like these, especially at this scale, it has become very possible to consider all kinds of lighting options. Certainly I've seen models that, or at least builds of this kit, that had lit the engines and the interior of the model as well. Again, all kinds of possibilities. My goal here again was just to create a scene where we have a repair crew around it, so I decided not to light the interior or the engines. So scratch building is something that I've come to really enjoy, and it really adds just another dimension as you're building your kits. I'd encourage you to try it. In this particular case, I had to construct something to hide the light switch, and I think it works pretty well here. This build allowed me to revisit the salt technique, which worked really well with detailing and weathering the ground equipment. If I were to do this kit again, I would apply this technique to the front part of the ship as well. And I say that it's not because I don't think that the technique I used here didn't work, but I just like the appearance of the salt technique. It's just the detailing you get is a bit finer. Well, it's time to rate the kit. In terms of accuracy, compared to all the shots that I've seen for reference photos and such, this kit looks pretty accurate to me. Ease of assembly, I'm going to rate it a 3 because there are some areas that are a bit challenging, particularly with assembling the rods and some of the detailing that I told you about. Likability, I'm going to rate it a 4. I really enjoyed working with this kit, and I think you will too. Cost, I give it a single $sign because it comes in under $30. Alright, so there you have it. I hope you enjoyed watching this build. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me here on my YouTube channel or at interstellarmodeler@gmail.com. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.